Hello and welcome to Odds on Premier League Match Day 11. We have on Sunday Man City, Liverpool. What a game with both teams winning in the Champions League. Actually, it was a very good week for the English teams in the Premier League, Tom.
Yeah, it seems like a good week in the Champions League every week for the Premier League teams. And the Premier League itself has been very interesting so far this season. So, yeah, so far, I think, on the Oddspedia team, I think I've got the strongest brief, and I'm into it.
Well, apart from Chelsea, of course, that couldn't get all 3 points in 𝗀𝗵cie. Well, let's analyze all the games in the Premier League. Massive week with Man City, Liverpool, also Man United, Tottenham. So stay tuned, guys. Ask any question to Tom Rennie. Of course, don't forget to press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. Tottenham Man United is the first game, really good one. The Europa League final of last season, with Tottenham becoming really bad at home in the Premier League, lost to Chelsea. At least in the Champions League, they thrashed Copenhagen, but at home 4 points only. In the Premier League, Man United, the run is over. They drew with Forest after 3 consecutive wins. Tom, revenge from the Europa League final and Man United getting the points here, perhaps?
Oh, I don't know. I find this very tough to call, I've got to say, this one. I think Tottenham are such a fascinating team at this moment in time. I'd almost disregard the Copenhagen game, only because of the quality of the opposition and sort of the way the game went. Plus, Mickey van der Ven is never going to score a goal of that quality again to wrap the game. So I don't know what we learned from that. I think the big issue with Tottenham, and I think Thomas Frank knew this as well going into the season, they needed James Maddison. This team was going to be built around James Maddison as Brentford was built around 𝗀𝗵cie''. It needed someone to read between the lines, to do something special, to float around the field. And they've got a lot of really talented players. But are they the key passer? Are they the link man? Are they the central creative 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀, Foden type force in a team? And no, so far. I think Xavi Simons could be fantastic, but I don't think he's that player yet. I think beyond that, Kudus and 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀 and Johnson, all these guys are up and down runners. And so they are short of the kind of players you need to break down Chelsea at home. And let's not sugarcoat it. That last week performance was one of the worst performances of the season. That was down there with West Ham against Brentford for bad performances by any team in the Premier League this season. So a really intriguing one, this. I think defensively they've been quite strong. I think Romero coming back alongside Van der Ven makes them stronger. And if it were me, it would be 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗀 as opposed to Jed Spence, who was fantastic back end of last season, but had a bit of a wobble this season. Plus, he had that weird walk by on Thomas Frank last week, which I thought was quite strange. In terms of Manchester United, we tipped them to win at Forest last week, and then it was 2-2 in the end. I think they could have and should have got on to win it. And look, it's unbeaten in 3, and there's some real positives. I think the front 3 is working. 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗀 is not scoring, but he's linking up well with Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. And Mbeumo and Cunha are fantastic players. And that's the thing about Man United. Never feel bad about taking the mickey out of Man United because they'll never actually suffer any real consequences. They can have their worst season in 30 years and still have $250 million to spend on Mbeumo, 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 and Cunha. So, that's why they should always make it work, because their money is essentially unlimited. But it is working now, and they deserve credit for that. I still think that the Fernandes-Casemiro axis in midfield is weak, and I still think there are mistakes in what will likely be Shaw, De Ligt and Yoro. But Lamans in goal has made a big difference. So lots of positives around Man United, and there's lots of positives around Spurs as well. But we're talking about the difference between being top 8, top 6, top 4, top 2. That's what those different positions would solve. The home form is woeful, absolutely woeful. But I do think that they are tough to beat, Tottenham. And, even in the Chelsea game, Chelsea could have won that by 6 or 7, only got the 1. Villa could have won it by more, didn't. It was quite tight. The games are always quite tight. The Wolves draw, the Bournemouth loss. They aren't getting thrashed at home. So I think it screams draw, first and foremost, at 3.7. I think I'd absolutely take that. I think it screams both teams nicking 1. and then sort of holding out for that. These two teams have been pretty even in recent years. 1-0 wins for Tottenham, 2-2 draws a couple of times. So I can see it being quite even. And I think these are two teams that are still working out what they're going to be. If you are going to pick a winner, I still don't have the confidence in Manchester United, but I think it'll be a very tight game. So Spurs by exactly 1 is 4.5, which I really like. Tight, edgy, not many chances, low block for both teams at times, all of that. And Spurs by exactly 1, 4.5. I think narrow is the way to go here. So pick the under 2.5 line and pick your winner. I'll go Spurs. And that's shocking to me. So I'm either crazy or those are fantastic odds. I don't know. But a Spurs 1-0, a Spurs 2-0, 7.5. I don't know. I just think narrow Spurs win.
All right, tough one here. Adnan going for the draw. Tottenham is very unpredictable, so both teams to score. For me, Narudin, I think X2 for United and over 2.5 goals. So as you can see, plenty of different options. Also, our AI is going here for first team to score. Tottenham, double chance, 1-2. So the AI doesn't have any clue for that. Think is the worst thing you can do, but still Everton Fulham is the next one, both in similar spots in the Premier League. Everton drew with Sunderland after losing to Tottenham and Man City. For Fulham, they won, and they won easily against Wolves, but away they've struggled this season, Tom.
Yeah, both teams 1 win in 5 in all competitions, home and away. So I do think that's significant for this game, because they're both teams with some clear deficiencies. For Everton, we said it before the season, we can say it now, they haven't got a striker. And if Barry was good enough, they'd have beaten Sunderland on Monday. That miss was catastrophic in the end from close range. I think Beto, who could possibly replace him, is not an upgrade. So they need that centre forward, don't we all? But I think the two players they've got aren't sufficient quality. And in midfield too, I think you saw it against Sunderland. I keep on saying this. Like, the central midfield pairing is so important this season. And James Garner, Idrissa Gana-Gueye, I think Timo Rebbenham's the other option in central midfield for them. Not much there, really, for David Moyes. And I think that is causing a problem. The three behind the striker are good. They keep doing brilliant individual things. You know, Jack Grealish's crosses, Dewsbury Hall's goal at Wolves, and Jai's goal on Monday. There's some real quality there in terms of what they can do creatively, but you can bake a cake as brilliantly as Mary Berry, but if no one can put the oven on, no one's going to want to eat it. That was tortured, but I enjoyed that. So, like, I think that's the story with Everton. And also at home, this happens quite a lot when a team moves into a new stadium. They struggle, and it's 5 games, 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 defeats. I expect the draws to ramp up more than the wins. In terms of Fulham, the squad is very thin. It's very thin, and we knew that going into the season. We knew that was going to be an issue for Marco Silva, and if Josh King or Smith Rowe don't turn it on, 𝗀𝗵𝗄 has then got to carry the entire team on his back, and because of some injuries and issues at the moment, he has been sort of playing a little bit deeper. I would hope it'll be Sander Berge and Sasa Lukic back in central midfield, or 𝗀𝗵𝗄 further forward, but then you've got to drop probably Kevin, who's the only one that really provides outrageous magic for this team. I think Wilson and 𝗀𝗵𝗄 are very good players, but Kevin is mercurial, and maybe they need that Fulham, just something a little bit different. But defensively solid. I'd expect Anderson and Bassey to be back together. Sessegnon and Tete are a good pairing. If Lukic and Berge are in front of them, I think this will be a really solid Fulham team, and they can go toe-to-toe against anybody. The trouble is getting results over the line, as you saw against Newcastle and Brighton, 1 or 2 other teams this season. So another game, frankly, that screams a draw at 3.46. I think Everton are struggling to get that second goal in games. Fulham are struggling to get that second goal in games. Screams 1-1 draw if you're looking for a scoreline here, but I'd take the draw up front. If you do go for a winner, I'd pick Everton at 2.25. I don't think Fulham will go there and win. I think it'll be very close. I can see Everton scoring late and winning it, but 1-1, 2-1, some combination of that. Either way, go low scoring. I'd probably go for under 2.5 and look at the 1-1. It screams 1-1, but I don't discount 0-0 as well. But I think under 2.5 goals. Narrow victory either way. Likely Everton, but a draw.
I think it would be a good idea going for the draw in the previous game and also here. And if one of those are correct, you are making some money. And many people here are going for the draw, as we can see in the comments. And we have Melton Felix. I won 6K yesterday. Well, if those are dollars or euros, good money. If it's another currency,
yes,
perhaps it's not that much.
If it's baht, it's like £3.
Exactly. If you won 6K Indonesian rupiah, is not a lot of money. I can tell you that. Next game, Tom. Someone was saying, I want to hear Tom talking about West Ham massive win against Newcastle. First win for Nuno Espiritu Santo, and this is a game, I guess, very, very important before the international break, beating a direct rival to avoid relegation than like Burnley. They would be level on points if West Ham win here, and we know that Burnley are especially good when they are playing at home. Away, they've only won against Wolves and lost the other 4. Tom, are you hopeful? Again, sun is shining.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say the storm is over and we're just in heavy rain now, which is a nice change of pace. The lightning has stopped. Look, I think West Ham put in their best performance on Sunday against Newcastle of the last 18 months. That's the best they've played since David Moyes at the club. And it was a very Moyesian performance in lots of ways. Lots of energy, lots of work, low block, hit on the counter, defend well, protect the centre halves. And like, I'm not saying that I'm right about everything, but I will say that I've been saying Freddie Potts should be starting for about 8 months. And he was the best player for Portsmouth in the Championship, the best player for Wycombe before that, I think, in League One. Every time he's played in pre-season and across this season for a few minutes, it's been fantastic. And he got his first Premier League start of the weekend just gone. And he was the best player on the field by some margin against the midfield that featured 𝗀𝗏𝗏 and Joe Linton and Bruno 𝗀𝗏𝗏. That is not easily done. So I think Potts coming in with Paqueta and Fernandes makes the midfield have a good balance. I think Wilson, Bowen, Somerville is a good 3, though Wilson can only play about an hour. And I think with Potts there, the centre halves got protected. So the team made sense for the first time under Nuno. I don't forgive him for his performances and team selections against Everton and against Brentford and Leeds. Forgive me. I think they could end up costing West Ham in the end. But the team looks balanced. The team made more sense, and they looked a goal threat as well as providing some sort of atmosphere at London Stadium. So last week was fantastic. If they continue that form, they will not be relegated this season. If they repeat the performances of Brentford and Leeds, there's every chance they will, but it's going to be a long old campaign. In terms of Burnley, I think their deficiencies are pretty clear. They don't have a Premier League squad. They're the only team of the 3 that I think didn't invest sufficiently in the squad. I do like Fleming up front. I think his first goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers was low-key one of the best goals of the season. I think Anthony and one or two others provide good pace. Florentino is a decent-ish player in central midfield, though. Is he playing in the right team? Is he going to be enough to carry this team to 40 Premier League points? Got my doubts about that. And going to a back 5 in games as well. It was against Arsenal, so you do that, I guess. But ultra, super, mega defensive. I don't know if that's going to work in the same way it did in the Championship for Burnley. I don't think it has so far. Every chance they could score a goal because West Ham are defensively weak. But I think that it's such an important game for West Ham. You mentioned Burnley's away form. There was signs of recovery for West Ham last week. So I take the West Ham win at 2.06. I think that's quite generous, actually, considering the macro of West Ham as opposed to the micro run they've been on. West Ham 2-1 is 8.5. I think they're well worth 2 goals in this game. Defensively, Burnley have not been fantastic recently. 2 against Arsenal, 2 against Wolves. Conceded 2 against Villa and 5 against Man City. So West Ham can score goals. They've scored in their last couple against Leeds and against Newcastle and against Everton in the last 5 as well. So they can score goals. So go for 2-1 at 8.5. Group bet of 2-1, 3-1 or 4-1. 4-1 is spurious, but 5 for that covers a few bets. I do think both teams will score. So West Ham, both teams to score is 4. And if you're looking at players here, Jarrod Bowen is spectacular. And I think, again, that's something that could get them over the line. West Ham win and Bowen score 5.65. You do that most weeks of the season, you're going to win between 5 and 10 bets. So well worth a punt. But weirdly, for the first time this season, I'm saying West Ham win.
Oh, someone was saying, Tom, please at least predict West Ham to win here. There you go.
There you go.
Came True, West Ham to win and both teams to score. Nurin, West Ham streak to continue. Marco Paul. So the only one going for Burnley is New Yorker. By the way, the 6K were pounds. So that's a lot of money indeed to be made.
Well done.
On betting. Good luck for you. Next one, Sunderland, Arsenal. Arsenal to win 2-0 is our favorite bet. It came through also in the Champions League. 6 points now clear from Man City. Only 3 goals conceded in this Premier League. Every week we say the same, but perhaps it's a bit tougher now in the Stadium of Light. 3 wins and 2 draws playing at home, Sunderland.
Yeah, look, Sunderland are a good team. And I think that we've all sort of come to accept how good they are. And you mentioned at home as well, unbeaten. That's a fantastic start to the campaign. They have had kind of mid-table schlock and a couple of teams that weren't quite ready for the campaign so far. Looking at the Brentford game when they played them, the West Ham game when they played them. And look, things are going to get tougher for Sunderland. And everyone there knows it. And I think they are prepared for it. And the fact they've got this many points at this stage stands them in a fantastic position to stay up this season. They're not thinking about Europe. They're not thinking about top half. They are still thinking about staying in the league. And that's absolutely right. They're realistic. They're well organised. They know the battle. And they've got, again, a fantastic player in 𝘀𝗵cie 𝘄𝗃 in central midfield, who I thought was, once again, phenomenal in the game against Everton on Monday, as he was against Chelsea previously, having just an incredible run. And a real Premier League renaissance. Like when he left the Premier League, 𝘀𝗵cie 𝘄𝗃, he was a bit of a joke figure. In the end, like there'd been a recovery from the captaincy situation at Arsenal, but no one thought he was this good. Goes to Leverkusen and becomes a different player, a better player. We didn't think he'd come back to the Premier League and do it again, and he has, and he's been fantastic this season. And his experience has got more from Siddiqui, it's got more from Ronaldo, it's got good cover for people like Ballard at centre half. Like everyone has been made better through 𝘀𝗵cie 𝘄𝗃's presence. And I think that's been absolutely critical for Sunderland this season. Plus, they have a goal scorer, which makes a big difference. Isidore has been a sniffer as well as a scorer of great goals. And you need that if you're going to stay in the Premier League. But this is an altogether different sort of test. Arsenal unbeaten run continues. They haven't conceded a goal. I think it's 8 now in all competitions. A club record going back 122 years. They're winning. If you bet Arsenal win to 0 for the last 8 or 9, you'd have won every single time. We have bet it every single time and won every single time, by the way. So I'm not going to stop that run here. And look, I won't give you the full blurb on Arsenal. You all know it by now. Defensively solid, midfield solid. Rice is fantastic. 𝘀𝗵ci's been great. And even if there are some issues this week, we don't know about the fitness of Gyökeres. We don't know about the fitness of Martinelli. We don't know about the fitness of 1 or 2 others. But if the front 3 was Mikel Merino, Leandro Trossard and Bukayo Saka, I'd still back them to win this game because Merino's been brilliant whenever they've sort of pushed him up front. So take the Arsenal win at a really surprising 1.45. I think that's actually pretty good odds for a straight up Arsenal win. Arsenal win to 0 has been a safe bet for some weeks. Stick with it, 2.1. If you want to juice it up a little bit, there is a group bet here of 1-0, 2-0 or 3-0 at 2.5, which is getting near to what I'm looking for. And then as ever with Arsenal, look at the corner market. They play for corners. They're going to get over 8. So look at double figures for corners in this game. And then you look at the score from a corner market. Look at the individual elements of that. Saka assist, Rice assist, Gabriel goal. All the hits. Play them. You'll make some money.
Arsenal to win, Merino to score for Marco, Merino to have over 1.5 shots on target. And there is someone going even for both teams to score. It's time future list. This is Darin. If Arsenal are on the pitch, it could be a very good weekend for them if they win and Man City and Liverpool draw, for instance. Next one, Chelsea Wolves, the only English team not happy after the Champions League games. Couldn't beat Karabakh, but in the Premier League, they won against Spurs. A lot of people praising Caicedo, by the way. I heard some comparisons with 𝗀𝗀𝗏𝗀 𝘀𝗃 even. I don't know if this is too daring, but I guess, Tom, they won't need the best Blues to beat Wolves. Of course, it looks like a hopeless team.
Yeah, I mean, on the Chelsea bit, I wouldn't go that mad on Caicedo, but I do think he's fantastic. I think him and Rice, the 2 best midfielders in the league, and probably 𝘀𝗏𝗃 𝘄𝗃 in that trio of best midfielders. And I think he's pivotal to everything Chelsea do. So I think, I'll save that for longer discussion format programs, but I do think he's fantastic. And I think that Enzo Fernandez and him have a fantastic balance in central midfield. If they can find a way to get Romeo Lavia into that group as well, they look very, very good. And I think Caicedo does the job of about 8 players in central midfield. He even makes like Reece James or Malo Gusto next to him in games look like they can play in central midfield. So, look, he is fantastic. And Chelsea's win last week, I don't think we should turn our nose up at the victory over Tottenham because Tottenham were poor, but Chelsea were fantastic. They played so well. They were defensively solid. They were offensively good. The midfield ran the game. And if Jamie Gittins could have scored that chance to make it 2 with 10 to go, you can easily see that game becoming 3, becoming 4, becoming 5. The issue with Chelsea is twofold. Number one is the quality of defense isn't quite there. Will it be 𝗀𝗻𝗄? Will it be Tosin? Will it be 𝗀𝗵cie? How fit is Fofana? These are all interesting questions, but I guess Fofana and 𝗀𝗵𝗄 for a game like this. I'm not the biggest fan of Wesley Fofana in a 2. I think he looks better in a 3 whenever I've seen him. 𝗀𝗵𝗄 I think is a good player, but is he a title-winning player? And that's the difference we're talking about here. I don't think so. I hope he proves me wrong, but at the moment I wouldn't bet on that. So that's your main issue, which Tottenham didn't exploit last week. And the other point is that everyone is just so young. Gittins is 21, João Pedro 24, Estevao is 18, George is 19. Like even 𝗀𝗵𝗄's only, Caicedo's only 24. And sometimes in games you see that lack of experience, and you see that lack of know-how, and you see that lack of getting over the line, communication. Sometimes there are elements of chaos in Chelsea games. I think Tosin is the oldest player at 28. So those are the 2 things. If they could bring in a bit of experience to this team and buy a centre-half, maybe have this is so cliche. If they had John Terry in this team, I think they could be champions. That's what they're short of. January window's coming up. Let's see how many wingers they buy. In terms of Wolverhampton Wanderers, as we record this, I don't know who the manager is going to be. There were some talks with Gary O'Neill, which fell apart. There's a few other names being linked. I saw hilariously Erik ten Hag being linked this week. That's not going to happen. So he'll get a Europa League job somewhere, not in England, but somewhere. So don't know who the manager's going to be. Did Vitor Pereira have to go? Yeah, if you don't win in 10, I think you have to. Got to do something. But it's a poor team, and we've said this all season. I think that Agbadu has been atrocious. Toti Gomez is no good. The midfield, Munetsi, okay, fine. Like, there's not much there. The 2 Gomez in midfield, João and Andre, got little legs, can't get around the Premier League. That's been a problem. And Strand Larsen's not scoring as well. That's really been significant for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Like, he signed a new contract, been fantastic, and could have got 60 million for him. Instead, he scored 1 goal and not been fit. So loads of problems. Will they get a new manager bounce off the caretaker? Maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it. Chelsea win this 1.39 on its own. I think they win quite significantly as well. So this is the first game this week to look at the handicap market. 14 goals conceded for Wolverhampton Wanderers is the worst in the division, which you'd expect for the team bottom of the table. 1.5 handicap minus is 1.91. Minus 2.5 handicap is 3.5. Absolutely take that. I think this might be 5-0 Chelsea.
Okay, some people are going even for Wolves. I see a draw. Kingsley is telling us double chance for Wolves.
You lot aren't watching Wolves, are you? You're not watching Wolves. This is not Sunderland. This is their bad team.
Chelsea to win 2-0. Nurdin is telling us. Well, next one is Aston Villa. Bournemouth. Aston Villa lost to Liverpool with 𝗀𝗲𝗄 giving away the first goal after beating City, Tottenham, Burnley, and Fulham. So they were in a really good streak. Also, Bournemouth coming from a defeat against Man City. Also, they put a fight and now is winless in 3. I think this one is a tough one to call. A very good game, actually.
Yeah, it is tough, actually. And I think there are 2 teams here that at times have been fantastic. Villa against Man City, one of the best performances I've seen this season. The victory at Tottenham, they were great. But against Liverpool, they were very poor. From the Salah goal, which was the Martinez giveaway onwards, they really struggled. And Villa are built around Kamara and Onana in central midfield, right? If you haven't seen Villa recently, that pair have had astonishing improvement in the last 18 months. And they are physical, and they are technically gifted, and they read the game well. Onana's really getting better, and he's been around for a long time now, Onana, for a young guy. He's still only 24, but never really had a role at Everton, struggled for a role at Villa. He's got one now alongside Kamara. They've been great, and they have allowed Morgan Rodgers to sort of start dominating games again, so that works really well. But when they come off it, as they did second half against Liverpool, the team struggles. And in that second half, they melted away. And it could have been a bigger win for Liverpool at the weekend just gone. So that's one to watch here in this game. Plus, there isn't great rotation. The squad is not deep. And if Watkins is not playing particularly well, and so far this season, he's not been particularly good, there isn't really anyone to replace him with. 𝗀𝗏 not doing anything. Marlon doesn't really do too much. So those are some issues there. But the first team is strong. And if everyone's fit, Pau Torres is fit, 𝗀𝗏𝗄 is fit, Cash has been fantastic, midfield looks good, they can beat anyone on their day if they have a day. But that's the same story with Bournemouth. Scott and Adams midfield, fantastic. 𝗀𝗏𝗄 has come in and sort of led the line in recent weeks, been linking up well with Semenyo and Tavernier. Good to see David Brooks playing some football and captaining the team as well. I've still got my doubts about the defence. I know everyone has been sort of having aren't the defence amazing? It is a drop-off from last year. Whatever way you slice it, the quality of last year's defence to this defence is a drop-off. 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏's been good. He's not as good as 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏. Truffert has been good. He's not as good as 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏. And I think that has shown in some games recently. Against Man City, I think it showed. Against Crystal Palace, I think it showed. And at times they do get a bit exposed. And these are players still finding their way in the Premier League. And that is going to happen. So really interesting game this. I think with last year's backline, I might have picked Bournemouth at these odds. But I do think Villa at home, despite only winning one of their 5 so far, or 2 of their 5 they won, forgive me. Oh, no, it's 3. Looking at the wrong tables. 3 of their 5, 1 draw, 1 loss. But in a couple of those games, they weren't particularly impressive. I do still think at home, they'll build up a head of steam. I think when they score the first goal, they're very tough to break down. So go for the Villa win, first and foremost, in this game. I do think both teams are able to score. We've seen that in recent weeks that they've scored, I think, in all of the last 5, Bournemouth. So I expect them to score at least 1. Villa and both teams to score was 4, which I thought was really surprising. Don't discount the Bournemouth win on the odds because W money is always worth a look and they are capable of winning a game like this. But I don't think the away form has been spectacular this season. It was them I was looking at, 1 win away from home this season. So I think Villa are good at home. Bournemouth are middling away. I would shade for Villa and look for both teams to score.
All right. Well, the draw is also possible. Many people are going also for the draw. This game is really tough to predict. What is our AI telling us? Let's see.
Go back in time, kill John Connor.
No, we don't have AI yet because the game is on Sunday and they are still compiling the data and analyzing the data. So I was about to sneeze, but not anymore. It looks like Brentford Newcastle. Brentford Newcastle is the next game. Newcastle, it looks like they cannot cope with 2 competitions. They won in the Champions League against Athletic, lost to West Ham, and hey, I would go for Brentford here if you ask me. And look at this odds, Tom, 3.05. With Brentford really strong at home. I think it's a lot of value on Brentford here.
Yeah, 3 wins in 5 at home this season for Brentford against the Newcastle team, as you mentioned, who are struggling away from home, especially after Champions League. No wins away. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Double your money. You got to have a punt on that here. Look, if Newcastle bring their best, they will win this game, as we saw against West Ham last weekend. If they are under what they can do, they will struggle. And I'm not a big fan of Brentford, right? And I'm surprised at how well they're doing. Maybe annoyed because I'm a West Ham fan and I think we should be above them. I don't know. Maybe my own personal bias is coming into this, but I'm surprised because it's so basic what they do, which is they set up Henderson to clip it over the top to a runner. That runner is often Thiago, and Thiago has scored. That's basically Brentford. They don't really do anything else. 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏 isn't having the impact he was having last season. 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏 is doing well protecting Henderson. Henderson's delivery has been fantastic and his reading of the game remains amazing, but they don't really have much of an identity beyond that. And 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗏 is amazing long throw. Is that going to be enough to keep in the Premier League this year? Yeah, maybe. Might be enough. But I'm surprised that no one has found, like, get on Henderson, drop 10 yards deeper, don't give throws away, you win the game. We'll see if Newcastle are able to stop this pretty basic Brentford attack. But look, the home wins have been impressive. The tactic has worked. They've got pace in behind. And if you protect Henderson, you will find ways to score if you're in this team. Plus, 𝗀𝗏, Van den Berg, Collins, 𝘀𝗵cie, that's about as physical as a backline as you're going to get. Though I do think Nathan Collins had a particularly poor game against Crystal Palace last week. So, intriguing Brentford. I still think they'll be in the bottom 5. I'm quite surprised they're not in the bottom 3 currently. But they picked up some really important wins against relegation rivals, the West Ham game most notably in recent weeks. So maybe they'll be able to steer clear of it. In terms of Newcastle, I thought they were dismal last week. And look, West Ham were good, so I don't want to take it away from West Ham deserving to win. But you mentioned it. There's not a great deal of rotation. Having played Champions League Wednesday, can they get energy in the legs of Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes? Or will there be big changes this week? Like, he does have Lewis Miley. He does have Joe Willock. He does have, I know Kraft started last week and was pretty poor, Alanga and Murphy to replace Gordon and Barnes, right? There is rotation there if Eddie Howe wants to do it. And I wonder last week with that 3 changes at half-time, whether he's made the realization they can't go back-to-back. And because of that, he is going to make big changes from one week to the other. They are a couple of players short in the squad to do that in terms of keeping the quality as high as it was with the strongest possible team. But I think we've seen it now. They can't go Wednesday, Sunday. They are struggling, this group. And so rotation might be required. I do think last week against West Ham, one player really comes out with credit. Not many do, but one does. And that's 𝗀𝗏𝘀 at centre-half. I thought he was absolutely incredible last week. And, you know, he's keeping 𝘀 out the team. Looks great alongside Botman. In their strongest possible guys, I think that Newcastle backline is one of the best in the league. Whether they can get the rest of the team to play at that level is an interesting question. Really interesting game, this, because if Newcastle bring their A game, I think they win it. But that's what we thought multiple times about Brentford at home this season. And they've lost 1, won 3, drawn 1, beaten big teams. And at double your money, you got to take it. You have to take that. So Brentford win, double your money. Top tip here. I do think both teams will score. I think it'll be very similar to the West Ham game if Brentford do win it. Newcastle are always worth a goal with Nick 𝗀𝗏𝗏 and all the quality they have. But if that happens, that means Brentford obviously will score as well. So both teams to score. Take that here. 2-1 scoreline is 10, which I thought was really, really interesting. 9-1. It screams 2-1 to me. Look at the group bet 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Again, you discount 4-1, but it brings you 2 realistic scorelines in. I think it might be similar to the West Ham game. I still think 2-1, Brentford by exactly 1 goal is a quite surprising 5. So screams 2-1 home team to me. Look out for that 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗀 long throw.
Really good value bet here for Brentford. No wins away for Newcastle, only 3 points. Brentford double chance for Marco Paul. Newcastle will be tired after the Champions League game. David is telling us Brentford to score over 1.5 goals. So a lot of people going for Brentford, apart from our last comment, Joe Montag going for the draw. Next one is Crystal Palace Brighton. Every season you tell me this is a derby. I cannot understand why. They are in different locations, but you've told me already. So I know about this. In the Premier League, Palace beat Brentford and also smashed Liverpool away. At home, also very decent. So it's going to be tough for Brighton, coming from an also comfortable win against Leeds, but away from home they struggle a little bit. They've only won 1 game in Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, I think I might headbutt my wall here if I have to describe why this is a derby again. Let's all just accept it, okay? They haven't got rivals. They picked each other. It's fine. Look, I think Crystal Palace are still very, very strong, right? They are a very, very strong team. And we saw that last week in sort of like the comfortable way they won. Like, I think in years gone by, that would have been a real struggle last week against Brentford. And yet they turned up, they performed their game, they did everything they do every week. They get Munoz involved, Mitchell involved, they get Pino and Sarr, suddenly there's 5 forward, Kamada and Lerma providing cover, you know, all of it. And it just continues to work. It was very solid. And of course, if you've got someone like 𝘀𝗵𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗀 who remains fantastic, 6 goals in the Premier League this season, if you've got a goal scorer, you can make this formation work. If you don't have a goal scorer, I think it doesn't. And that may be why, you know, it hasn't worked so well for Man United, this particular formation in recent times, because Palace have had Mateta and they've had whoever they've had, Højlund, 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀, you know, Šeško's doing better now, but not scoring that many goals. So I do think that's significant. Defensively solid. They don't concede many. They have won the last 2, having previously been able to win the 3 before that in all competitions. And look, and you got Mateta, you got every chance of winning a game. In terms of Brighton, they are really interesting. A couple of friends of mine are Brighton fans, and I just sort of ask them, as you do, sort of how you're getting on. A lot of unhappiness at Brighton at the moment. And if it wasn't for Danny Welbeck carrying the team, also got 6 goals in the Premier League this season, there's not much else happening at the moment. I think defensively, Lewis Dunk and Van Hecker have been called out a few times. Ayari and 𝗀𝗲𝗄 should be up there. One of the best pairings in the league, but 𝗀𝗲𝗄's not playing all the games, and Ayari flattering to deceive at times. I think it was great to see Diego Gomez sort of have his big moment last week against Leeds, scoring a couple of goals. We've been sort of waiting for him to get going for Brighton. I always thought he was going to be more of a defensive sort of central midfielder, but playing further forward. Good for him. Maybe they found a new sort of role for him. And I'm not sure Rutter's doing enough to support Danny Welbeck. And, you know, in the absence of 𝗵𝗏𝗄 and the absence of Solly March, who's perennially injured, the absence of one or two others, needs must. Minte has not performed particularly well this season to the standards we'd expect from someone. As ever, they're going to fatten up to sell. So a few issues there with Brighton. And I'm not quite sure how you solve it. And with that said, I think you have to go Crystal Palace win here because of their home form, because of how good they look, and because of Jean-Philippe Mateta. So Palace win at 2.34. Mateta, anytime goal scorer, is always worth a bet with Crystal Palace, 2.3, which is pretty good. Double that with a Palace win. You'll more than double your money here. If you're looking for Brighton, the only thing I'd pick out is Danny Welbeck on a fantastic run of form. He looks great. Welbeck anytime if you fancy Brighton. The Palace win with a Mateta goal. And it's a derby. Do you know it's a derby? The reason it's a derby... it's look for red cards. Derbies always go that way. So don't discount a red card in this game as well.
The Gatwick Express Derby, no? The Gatwick Airport. They are both around the airport. Scoring draw, Crystal Palace win, cause full power at home. Crystal Palace to win 1-0. I think you make a lot of money in this weekend if you bet on draws. Every game a draw, and I'm pretty sure like at least 4 or 5 are going to end up in a draw. Perhaps even the next one, Nottingham Forest Leeds. Sean Dyche looking for the first win with Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Of course, the positive, the draw against Man United, I guess, was positive. He's very angry at the referees. He looks an angry man when you look at him. And Leeds lost to Brighton. It's 3 defeats in 4 games for Leeds, only beating your West Ham.
Yes, and if Nuno picked a team that made any sense on planet Earth, I think West Ham would have won that game, which tells you a lot. Look, let's start with Forest. I think that, well, in the macro, I think West Ham and Wolves get out of it. Forgive me, I think West Ham and Forest get out of it, and I think Leeds and Burnley go down with Wolves. I know it's November, but I think Leeds will go down, and I think Burnley will go down. They don't have the quality. And I think Wolves, you don't stay up with 2 points after 11. Look, we'll see how it goes, but that's how it feels to me at the moment. I like the look at West Ham under Nuno in the long run, and I like the look of Sean Dyche and Forest. Is it going to be particularly watchable and entertaining and thrilling and all that? No, it's not. But you saw last week against Man United, this team are a Nuno team, right? And that means that they have been built on hard work, defensive solidity, scoring set pieces, outworking the opposition, hitting them on the counter. That's basically Sean Dyche. Like, there are differences in a way. I think probably Nuno is slightly higher up the food chain. But I do think Sean Dyche is just incredible at getting defensive solidity. He's not incredible at coaching a team you'd want to watch. But if the intensity is high and the defense is solid and you can't score against them, he has proven for a decade he can get wins in this league. And if they start scoring from corners again, look out, everybody. Like, I think Forest will climb the table. You saw some brilliant motivation last week against Man United. This is not a team that have given up on staying up. This is not a team that have given up on this season. I think West Ham and Forest, in the end, will climb up to kind of lower mid-table. And Leeds are going to really struggle across this campaign. And so I'd fancy Forest here. In terms of Leeds, again, I think it's a quality of player issue. Rodon, Beal, Strike. These are not great central defenders. Midfield, it's incredibly hardworking. Tanaka, Longstaff, Ampadu, Stark. Like, they will work until they can't work no more. But is there a great deal of finesse in this team? I'm not seeing anyone really here that can play the through ball, carry the team. Who's the 10 goal scorer? Who's the 10 assist maker? I think they've got a lot of really good square pegs. But is there a Gibbs White? Is there a Paqueta? Is there a Bowen? Is there a Hudson-Odoi, Igor? I don't know. I'm not seeing it right now with Leeds. And January window is going to be really interesting to see if they can add that. And you mentioned the form as well. I think the form has started to tail off as we sort of thought it would. And they shouldn't have beaten West Ham. Even that diabolical West Ham could have nicked a win late on. So I got a lot of faith in Forest, and I'm going to take them to win at 2.3. I think they'll go on a run, and it may well start here. I think it'll be... I think you're expecting at least 2 goals in this match. I think you're going to need that to settle the nerves inside the City ground. I can see them scoring early and looking to hold on, then being classic Forest hit on the break. Forest winning over 1.5 goals in the match was a quite intriguing 2.88. That covers 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. I can see Forest winning this by scoring a goal in each half. My only doubt is whether Leeds can score, but I fancy Forest.
All right, 1x and under 3.5 goals for 𝗀𝗻𝗀𝘀. Forest 2-0 for 𝗀𝗵cie𝘄. Correct score 2-1. I also think that Forest at least should win this one and put some pressure on Leeds and Burnley in the relegation before the break. And the last game, the game we are all waiting for, Man City, Liverpool. Liverpool, perhaps they turned the corner, or at least they played the best game of the season against Real Madrid. Against Aston Villa also was a positive result, but against Real Madrid they were way better than Los Blancos. And also Man City smashed Dortmund. Haaland keeps scoring. And Tom, I guess the loser is without options to win the Premier League. So it's a massive game. Last season, Liverpool won 2-0 both games. What do you expect here?
Oh, it's tough. It's a tough one, this, because I think both teams are good. These aren't going to be part of the top 3, right? It's Arsenal and these two. We thought it pre-season, and that is how it's going to be. But we have seen issues with both teams in recent weeks. With Man City, I think the lack of Rodri is so evident. And I think that 𝗀𝗏𝗏, who I think is a really good player, beyond the Wolves game, has not really done it. They've since turned back to Gonzalez, who was, I think, proven he's not quite a Premier League quality player. Certainly not a Man City quality Premier League player. And they missed Rodri. I mean, it's not rocket science, this. You've got the best player in the world, and he can't stay fit. He can't get a run going. He can't get back to what he once was. I think it will happen at some point. I hope it happens at some point, but currently it's not happened. And they've lost that central midfield dynamism that Liverpool have had, and Arsenal have certainly got, and a few other teams have got. Chelsea have got. So, but Moises Caicedo, to an earlier conversation in this team, I think they're doing a lot better. And that might be something that that City are looking at moving forward. Look, I think that defensively, Gvardiol and Stones have looked quite good. I think they need a bit more protection from the guy in front of them. I think the balance behind Haaland is really interesting. I guess it'll be Foden, Savinho, Doku, and one other, but maybe Oscar Bob has been starting recently instead of Bernardo Silva. But there is a lack of real world-class quality in 2 areas. Number 1, defensive midfield. Number 2, the De Bruyne role. And as good as sort of Phil Foden is, and he's only 25, Phil Foden, despite the fact he's been around forever, it's 1 assist and 1 goal in the Premier League this season for Phil Foden. And I love Phil Foden. I think he's a great player. This is the time. Kevin De Bruyne's shoes are there to be filled. This is the time to fill them. The story for years has been get out there and fill them. Is he doing it? Right now, no. If they are going to win the league this season, they will need Phil Foden to get 10 assists and 10 goals. Can he do it? Absolutely. But we've got to see it in games like this. If he can carry the team, if he can create the chances, Erling Haaland with 13 Premier League goals already will convert them. In terms of Liverpool, I think that the defense looks a bit more settled. Now, Robertson and Van Dijk are back together. I think Milos Kerkez is a good player, but Robertson is better for this team at this moment in time. And you saw against Real Madrid in the Champions League on Tuesday, Conor Bradley on the other side makes a lot of sense in games where you've got to do the work, right? He's a proper right back. Is he an elite level Champions League fullback? I don't think so. With all due respect, I think he's a good player. I think he's probably playing a little bit ahead of where he should be in terms of his development. But that's fine. He is a proper right back. And so you're going to get more out of a proper right back playing within himself than you are someone like Szoboszlai filling in, and you're losing him from other positions. The other conversation here is Florian Wirtz. I think playing him on the left wing against Real Madrid made sense. He won't be the first player shunted out on the left wing when a manager doesn't know what to do with a creative player. That's what managers have always done. What should we do with this geezer? Can't really play him 10. Left wing, it's fine. That's what they always do, and I think he looked better. The pressure was off him out on the left-hand side. Not great, I'll add, but better. The pressure was off him. They lose the power of 𝘀𝗵𝗄, but they add the finesse of Florian Wirtz. 𝗀𝗵cie𝘄 and Wirtz make sense. Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister make sense, though I might ask Ryan Gravenberch to play deeper in this game. Be more a 6. Be more a Rodri. I think he could be a fantastic Rodri. I think he wants to be an 8. I think it'd be better if he played as a 6. I think that would be what the team needs of Ryan Gravenberch. In terms of form, it's obviously a little sketchy for both. I don't really count the Crystal Palace Carabao Cup loss for Liverpool because they played basically nobody. The Brentford game I do look at as a game where their defensive deficiencies were absolutely highlighted, but a team who can beat Villa in a bobbly sort of way. They weren't amazing, but beat Villa and then beat Real Madrid in a week are obviously a team that are very, very good. And in terms of City, the scary thing for Liverpool is the goals are back. You know, the big issue with the City for a while is there's been no goals for some time. It's now 4, 3, and 3 in their last 3 games. They've obviously been hurt by not being able to score against Aston Villa and have really turned the tides on that narrative. It's 4 wins in 5 at home. For Liverpool away from home, they struggled, 3 defeats. You have to look City win. I think you have to go City win here on the form and on Erling Haaland, the Haaland factor. So City win at 2.01, not amazing. I think both teams defensively have been somewhat deficient this season, so I can absolutely see both teams scoring. City have conceded 8 in 10, which is quite surprising, less than 1 per game. It's still quite high. Liverpool, 14 conceded in 10 is really high. It's one of the worst defensive records in the division. So I think both teams to score and City win doubles your money. If you go Liverpool, go the exact same way and add both teams to score. That was 5.5, which I think will get higher. And if Liverpool are going to win, they're going to need to outscore City. They won't keep a clean sheet here. And as ever, you've got 2 world-class goal scorers, so put them in the bucket. Haaland to score and City win is 3.45. Salah, anytime goal scorer on the other side, is 2.85. If you want to bundle that with a Liverpool win, you'll make some money as well. But you've got Haaland, you've got Salah, you're going to get goals, and I think you're going to City win.
Well, a lot of options here, a lot of different comments in our comment section. Let me know also in the comment section later. What do you think? We have Liverpool to win and both teams to score, or 𝗀𝗵𝗄 draw with both teams to score. Marco, Liverpool 3, Haaland 2, Haaland versus Konate. Well, we also saw Mbappe versus Konate and Van Dijk, and Konate played a great game, actually. Also, Bradley, as you highlighted, all Liverpool were great, actually, against Real Madrid. Liverpool to score 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. A lot of comments. Mon Spaghetti, he's a Liverpool fan. City is easy to beat. Just keep Haaland quiet. And another one was saying here that the 𝗀𝗵𝗄 or whatever, Man City at home is difficult to beat them. So different opinions, so difficult to predict this Man City Liverpool. Edu and Tom, how was that not a penalty for a handball in the Real Madrid? I don't think it was a handball. Indeed, he touched it where the arm. I think it was not a handball.
I don't know what handball is, frankly. And my big pitch, as you may have seen on social media this week, check it out, pockets. Put pockets in their shorts and we never see a handball again.
Well, guys, remember we have our tipster competitions going on. So you left your comments in the video. You can post it also in Oddspedia. Challenge yourself and perhaps win some money. We have the Premier League competition. There you go, with €1,000 prize pool. And we have the monthly one, tipster competition. There you go, in November. And also rivals. So plenty of options if you just register in our website completely for free, of course. Tom, safe bet?
Safe bet this week. Yeah, well, it is tough. It is a tough week, that's right. But I do still feel like there's a safe bet that I've been riding for weeks and I'm going to keep on riding it. And that is an Arsenal win. Really tough game against Sunderland. Not guaranteed, but of what's there this week, that's the safest bet. Gunners to win.
And the ACCA?
I'm getting cocky. this week after winning, I think, the last 4 Premier League ACCAs in a row. And I've been doing some pretty gentle trebles to win us some money. But I'm going to go brave this week and go for a couple of wild scores. Arsenal are in there. That's tough to win at Sunderland. I'm taking Chelsea to win against Wolverhampton Wanderers. But I'm also going to throw in Brentford. I think Brentford beat Newcastle because of the whole Champions League thing. I couldn't believe the odds. 6.15 for Arsenal, Chelsea, Brentford. I've got 10 English pounds of my own money on that right now.
All right. Well, Tom, we go into the international break. I can see a lot of great games here. Saudi Arabia, Ivory Coast, Guatemala, Panama, or whatever. So I'm going to give you a break after enjoying this Man City Liverpool. And we are back in a couple of weeks. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.